All right, I want to talk about early exclusivity, especially when someone tells you super early on that they're only talking to you. So let me know your experiences, but for me, I've never had a situation go well when someone told me super early on that they were just talking to me. So the first example, I was on a dating app and, I chatted with this guy for a bit. We had a phone call, and then during the phone call, he was like, yeah, I just want to let you know I'm only talking to you, so you don't have anything to worry about. I'm only talking to you. And I was like, oh, that's a little weird, I was a little bit skeptical, like you are on a dating app. So, And then that guy invited me to go to a wedding reception with him. And, I was a little uncomfortable, but sometimes it just takes me time to process my thoughts. And especially back then, wasn't as confident in my boundaries. So I was like, let me think about that one. Um, and then while I was still figuring out if I wanted to go, he asked me again. He asked me again to go to this wedding. And I was just thinking, like, oh, okay, so you've asked so many girls to go to this wedding reception with you that you don't even remember asking me. And I called him out, like, hey, I don't want to talk anymore because you told me that you were only talking to me and you clearly aren't. And there was just no reason to say that. So that was the most obvious one. There was another one where this person saw me out for my positivity. I had commented something on a post, and everyone seemed to have like a pretty pessimistic perspective, and I think I was the only one, or one of the only ones, that had a positive perspective. And that person messaged me and they told me that was why they sought me out. And they pursued me with a lot of intensity. We talked very often. It was a lot of connection, a lot of, mental, emotional connection super fast. And I felt that person and I had such a strong connection. But there were definitely signs that something was going to go wrong. Like, they would put me on restricted status, and I had kind of figured out what it was like to be on restricted status before, but I wasn't really sure. I'm like, oh, maybe this person just really is into their surroundings and they just never check their phone while they're like out doing their activities, pretty naive of me. But that person was making plans to visit me, and then they suddenly just came up with an excuse and copped out of the situation. And I think what I learned from that situation was that, the telling me that they were only talking to me early on encouraged me to shut down my options. It encouraged me to think that they were way more serious about me than they actually were. And it caused me to make excuses for the things that I saw, like the disappearing, just that bit of weirdness. Pardon the kitty cat. And yeah, in hindsight, I do think that was a tactic, and I don't think that was honest. And if you think about it, it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird for a single person who's actively pursuing someone to only be talking to that person when you just started talking. If you really think about it, how common is that? I know sometimes people shut down their options after, a few dates, but I'm talking super early on. And then the last situation, I also feel that person was very manipulative. And I think that they definitely wanted me to think they were super serious. They wanted me to shut down my options. They actually became very possessive and controlling early on. And because I've dealt with that situation before, I was able to identify it pretty quickly. And I was able to just, block that person and put an end to that altogether, because I saw the warning signs of that early manipulation, which, I'll continue to make videos about that and those warning signs. This is definitely one of them, though, telling you that because, even if there is that rare circumstance where that person wasn't really looking, but they stumbled across you and they liked you, I mean, do they really need to tell you that and put that pressure on you and make you shut down your options? Because I think exclusivity should be about, a commitment and taking things to the next level. I don't think it should be so early on, before you even know the person, because putting all of your focus on one person really does make you see things in a different light. If they're your only option, you don't have anything else to compare it to. And if you start getting emotionally attached, then you are definitely going to miss out on a bunch of red flags. So, I think this is one that doesn't get talked about super often. So hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it was illuminating. Share your stories with me if you have experienced this. How did that go for you? I want to know. See you next time.